I'm finally reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hallelujah. It's a spoiler-packed review, so if you haven't watched the movie, go watch the movie. So the prologue, we get immediately picking up where Batman v Superman left off, and we're sort of seeing as Superman being stabbed by Doomsday. Scream is his death cry, basically. We're seeing like literally the physical sound waves going across sort of the world, really, to wherever the mother boxes are. Now that Superman has died, the mother boxes seem to be awoken by the literal like sound waves of his death cry. This wasn't something that was in the Whedon cut. Like the movie, like it starts off completely differently, and it's just like, oh wow, this is already just so much better. And then we finally get to part one, picks up where the prologue ends. Batman is trying to convince Aquaman to go and like help the League. Lois, we see, is of course absolutely just a complete state of depression in this movie. There's the Superman monument she's going visiting every day because she is grieving. And you don't really feel that at all to the same extent in the theatrical cut. We're reintroduced, I mean, we see what Wonder Woman is up to these days, and it's similar. This scene is basically in the old cut, but it's made a lot better here. The big thing that makes this scene so much better, though, is actually get to see Wonder Woman. She's like brutal. She is brutally killing these guys. She's not having it. And I like seeing a more brutal Wonder Woman. She's just so badass in this movie. After she kills the guys and she sort of gets the bomb and throws it up in the air, and she manages to save everybody, and she decimates the one main guy. Then instead of it just cutting away like it is in the theatrical cut, then we actually get to see what happens after that. And we actually get to see her like consoling kind of, you know, all the kids that were hostages and were almost like about to die. We actually get to see her really like, I don't know, I feel like this is sort of just as much part of being a hero as the actual like act of saving them. Like she actually like sort of checks to make sure they're all okay. We get to see that. Of course, we get to the Amazonians guarding the mother box that's been awoken. Steppenwolf comes in, as he does in the theatrical cut. He comes in, except he's looking a lot better in this cut, I gotta say. He doesn't just look like some asshole wearing a Halloween costume from a PlayStation 2 game. His body, everything about him, his stature is imposing, terrifying. The CGI on Steppenwolf in this version, unlike the theatrical cut, is actually fantastic. Battle ensues the way it does in the theatrical cut, but there's actually sort of a more of a back and forth, you know, because the whole sequence, like everything, is longer in this movie. So there's time for the Amazons to actually get the upper hand at some point. The battles in this are really epic. They're really like, I see what Zack Snyder's talking about now when he said he was kind of going for a Lord of the Rings type movie, Lord of the Rings type storytelling. Like, I don't think it's just a superficial thing. You really feel it in this movie. Like, the battle scenes, like with the Amazons, are epic. There's just, yeah, so much more weight to them. Part two starts, and then we get to the Amazons again, and they're like, okay, we've lost the mother box, we gotta alert Wonder Woman, so they send the arrow, like in the theatrical cut. But then there's a whole massive section with a like kind of lore expanding section, just that's not in, you know, the theatrical cut. So Wonder Woman goes to the shrine and finds the arrow, and then knows, basically, she finds a passageway, she gets a torch and everything, gets a little Indiana Jones-ish. Really cool sequence. I love this sequence. And lots of amazing visuals. So she drops down into this like kind of crypt area down there. She sees somewhere to like place this arrow that they sent, because it'll activate sort of this doorway to open. To basically, they had this arrow pretty much prepared to sort of show her what to do or what to expect if the world was to be attacked again by Darkseid. Eventually, we get to her explaining sort of the whole battle that took place originally like a millennia or however long ago. She explains that to Bruce. And again, this is one of the best sequences in the whole movie. This is like even more so. This is Lord of the Rings shit right here. Like Darkseid's coming to Earth. Oh my god. And you see Darkseid and he is just, oh my god, he is amazing. He is amazing in this movie. So he comes to Earth, and Wonder Woman, so she's telling, this is all flashback, she's telling Bruce how the Age of Heroes is sort of the last time the mother boxes, the Darkseid brought them to Earth, and they were about to activate them, and there was this whole war ensued to stop him from turning the Earth basically into another version of his planet and enslaving the whole Earth, because that's what he does. And so it's the Atlanteans and just men back then, and the Amazons and the Guardians from the Sky, they say, which ends up we can see as like Green Lanterns and stuff. So it's just it's quite a nerdgasm, this scene. It's just so epic. It's absolutely like Lord of the Rings caliber epic. Darkseid is like brutally, he's chopping guys' hands off. It's amazing. It's like your jaw is on the floor. So when we see Ares from Wonder Woman, even like gets an axe in Darkseid, kind of like how Thor gets an axe in Thanos. Say part 3 really is ultimately, for the most part, it's sort of devoted a lot to Barry Allen, the Flash, and Victor Stone, Cyborg. So it starts off with Barry's applying for a job, and then we see we know, they don't actually say in the movie, but we know it's Iris West is about to be like hit by a truck, and then the way it's so visualized is just really beautiful. It really sets him up as a character. I kind of hated the Flash in the theatrical cut, like Ezra Miller's the Flash, and I think I love him now. That's just one example. I couldn't even rank the League in this movie if I told you. I mean, I guess my favorites would probably be Batman and Superman, but like overall, I couldn't really rank them worst to best. There would be no worst, because Zack Snyder just made all of the League so awesome and likable and badass in this movie, and it's amazing. I'm so like I'm as vested in these guys as I am in the Avengers now, like in the movie versions as I am in the movie versions of the Avengers now, and that's just incredible. Because, you know, they didn't have all the setup, but that's part of the reason why this movie needed to be that long, because they didn't have all the movies leading into it. And I thought maybe that would still feel forced, but with what Zack Snyder did, it works. Bruce Wayne goes and finds Barry and recruits him, and then we get Wonder Woman going to find Cyborg and recruits him, and we get a little thing into, like, Cyborg's whole, like, backstory. Again, none of that's in the theatrical cut. They just took all the character development and just like, you know what? We don't need that. We see like what his father did sort of after his mom and him was in an accident. His mom died. We see how his father actually had one of these mother boxes because he works for Star Labs. So he basically uses the box to bring back Victor. His dad like leaves him a voice recording sort of explaining for his son how to use sort of his abilities now as the cyborg and what he can do to like change the world. And we see inside his head and stuff, and it's all visualized what Cyborg can like kind of go into this virtual space and actually be in it physically. Such a cool like concept, the way they visualize and everything, and not in the theatrical cut at all. We see that he sees that he can really make a difference and he can help people. He can like sort of hack in all sorts of security cameras. So he finds like this, he sees that he can like track people. I mean, it might seem a bit creepy, but what he does sort of makes up for it, I think. So he finds like this woman that's really like having tough luck, and you see she's a really good person. She's even like giving money to the poor, even though she barely has any money for herself. And she's working like a dead-end job, just barely can make ends meet. The cyborg is able to like virtually, when she's at a bank machine, put all this money into the bank machine for her. Now I'm not sure if he's able to like create this money virtually or not, or if he's taking it from someone richer or from Star Labs. Either way, what a beautiful scene. Like the way it's like visual, like how did they cut this, man? Like I don't know what they were thinking. It's like with the Wonder Woman thing, it's these little things, or even with Barry like saving Iris, these little things that build up the characters and make them seem not either just like grumpy emo dudes like Cyborg or just like annoyingly jokey characters like the Flash. No, like they still have those sides to them, but they're, instead of just being that, instead of them frankly not being likable for just being that, this movie adds whole other layers to them that makes them more well-rounded characters, and suddenly you appreciate their other sides more because of how much they're built up in other ways. And it's just, it's fantastic storytelling. We do get a scene sort of with Steppenwolf actually interrogating one of the Atlanteans, and that's how he actually finds, he has like a little thing that goes on their head and sort of reads their mind, so that's how he actually finds that mother box. So again, just more fleshing out, instead of him just showing up or being kidnapped from Star Labs because they have the scent of the mother boxes on them. So Steppenwolf's just sending the parademons after people to kidnap them, and he's bringing them back to his secret nuclear waste facility where he's making the unity with the mother boxes. And eventually, I guess what turns the tide and like Victor's decision, even though he has like some tough kind of feelings towards his dad, he does decide to go and like help the League once his dad is taken. So we have now almost the full League, minus, well, obviously Superman because he's still dead, and Aquaman hasn't joined yet. So we have Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and now Cyborg, and they're going in big Batman's big ship thing. And, I mean, this scene was in the theatrical cut, kind of, part of it, but edited, changed, made worse, basically, like everything in theatrical cut. This scene's amazing in this version. Seeing the League, like, first, like, going at it with this better version of Steppenwolf. In this scene, you really get to see all four of those members just really nailing, just being awesome versions of these characters, and it's really freaking glorious. It's as good as anything you could really ever hope for in a Justice League movie. And, of course, at the end, Aquaman saves them just when they're about to, when Steppenwolf's about to, like, unleashes the water dam on them and they're about to, like, drown. Aquaman comes in and saves them. I guess around up until now, Steppenwolf's been calling on Darkseid's sort of disciple, Desaad. So then part 4 ends, like, really with the midway point. We get sort of things really heating up on all sort of parts of the story. We get on the villain side of things, we get, finally, Darkseid shows up, actually, like, for the first time, not in a flashback. Basically, he shows up because Steppenwolf says, oh, you know what, I found out you had the anti-life equation. That's this thing that Darkseid's been looking for, I guess. That's basically I think it's pretty much like a cheat code to do what he normally does one by one on these planets, to do it for everything. So that's what, when he tells Desaad that, then Darkseid shows up, and it's this moment, it's like a Thanos kind of moment of him, like, entering, and you're just like, oh shit, this guy means business. Also get another scene with Lois, and we find out, like, Martha comes over, and she's Superman's mom, and she's saying she got Superman stuff from work, and she finds out Lois hasn't been going to the Daily Planet where her and Clark worked at all. She hasn't been to work at all since Superman died. But then we find out it's not actually Martha, and some people didn't like that it wasn't actually her, but I thought this was cool, because then we find out it's really Martian Manhunter. I guess, yeah, you don't have the moment between her and Martha, but remember, this is, I forget his name, but Martian Manhunter is really the general guy from Man of Steel and BVS, who Lois sort of knows and stuff. I forget his name, but he was a major character in those two movies. And we didn't know he was John Jones or anything up until now, but it makes so much sense. He kind of seems like that same kind of persona and everything. And he is close, he does care about Lois, I think, so it still makes sense. It's still an emotional moment that he's going to check up on her like that. So as we move into part 5, the League has basically kind of figured out that they can bring back Superman with the mother box. Of course, like in the theatrical cut, but it's a bit more well explained here because there's more time to kind of flesh out exactly how it all works. Not to mention, just with the extra time, it just gives the whole thing more emotional weight. So when they do finally bring back Superman, there's just so much more power and oomph to it. And there's just, like, little moments where Cyborg realizes through the mother box is kind of telling him he, like, can see the future of what's going to happen if they bring back Superman. It's just a great moment in this when Cyborg realizes what's going to happen, and he's like, no. And then Barry, who's supposed to run and charge the box, thinks he says go, and it's just like these little, like, moments of, like, human error that, like, weren't even, like, a thing in the theatrical cut. Just kind of add so much more humanity to the whole thing. And then, of course, even big difference when Superman does come back, Batman's actually kind of operating more on faith here. He maybe not smartly so, but he is operating on faith that Superman is what they need, and he will sort of be himself when he comes back. He doesn't have the plan of bringing in Lois as a backup. Batman is not, like, he's not depending on Lois in this version like he is in the theatrical cut. The reason Lois is there and comes and neutralizes Superman is just by, well, chance, because in this version, as I said before, it's set up that she is, in fact, visiting the monument every day, which is right outside the alien ship site where they bring back Superman. So just by chance, she happens to be there and neutralizes the whole situation. So Batman was not prepared for every contingency in this version, and I think that adds another layer to the character. He was operating, like he says in this movie, fully kind of on faith, on his faith in Superman. He really sort of comes full circle from being such a grizzled, cynical version of the character in BVS to just basically being like the most holistic kind of version we've seen of Batman ever on screen in this movie. And then, of course, though, they do realize once the mother box is activated to bring back Superman, they know that's going to trigger Steppenwolf to come and get it. That's what he'll be able to tell where it is once they activate it. And this, of course, not in the theatrical cut, but Victor's father knows that no matter what, basically, Steppenwolf's going to get the box, because Superman is left at this point with Lois. Superman is not there. He's the only one that could have stood a chance against Steppenwolf. So without Superman, Silas Stone, Victor's father, knows Steppenwolf's getting the box. So all he can do basically is supercharge it to basically overheat it so that they can track the box. By doing that, he sacrifices himself. So we get and Cyborg is actually there for that, and it's a heart-wrenching moment. And again, we didn't even know he died in the theatrical cut. Or did he? I don't know. The scene's just not in it. And you just miss out on all that great character development with Cyborg and his father. There's sort of a whole theme. I don't know, Cyborg the most so, but yeah, there's a whole theme with a lot of the characters and their fathers in this, I noticed. There's obviously, Cyborg, then there's Barry seeing his father throughout the movie in prison. Obviously, Batman has father and mother issues. Batman's kind of the king of that. But then Superman, when he there's a lot of stuff, I'm going to get to. So when basically the League go off, track down Steppenwolf, but while they're on their way there, Superman's still off on his own, sort of remembering who he is again. And he goes back to his ship, and he sees all the suits there. And it's just, you get the Man of Steel theme playing, and it's just incredible. And then there's a voiceover of both his two different fathers. So again, continuing with the theme of the fathers. And you just get they have great monologues, both of them in Man of Steel, both Jonathan Kent and Jor-El. So you get both their speeches kind of playing over on top of each other. And it's just some of the most powerful sort of visuals and audio kind of combined of pretty much ever seen in movies. That might be my favorite part of the movie. It's just so powerful and epic, and oh my god, so amazing. And then we finally get to the final battle, and there's just so many great moments, and it seems like Steppenwolf's they sort of come up with a plan that Cyborg can sort of hack into the boxes and destroy them if and Barry charges him up, and he has to run at the speed of light. And just when Cyborg's starting to get ready to do that, Steppenwolf comes and is about to axe him, and then Superman shows up, and he just blows his axe, turns it to ice, shatters it, punches Steppenwolf to hell, basically, and it's just glorious. So every character is just getting amazing moments in this. But then eventually when it comes time, after Superman showed up, and it seems like they're getting the upper hand, then Barry is about to run at the speed of light and to charge up Cyborg to get him into the mother boxes to destroy them. But then one of the parademons actually shoots Barry, and then just before he's about to kill Barry, Batman takes him out, luckily. But Barry is injured, and now he can't run at the speed of light to get there in time, and he doesn't make it in time. And the mother boxes actually, the Unity forms, and the whole Justice League pretty much dies. But then just in time before it hits Barry, the wave, because he's in a different spot, he goes at the speed of light. And oh my god, this scene, another reason why the Flash is just incredible in this movie. This is, I don't know how they cut this. They've had him, pushing a truck or something instead. They just made the Flash lame in the original cut. And this, every member of the League, he gets a glorious moment. He saves the day. It's honestly kind of like a reverse moment of where Scarlet Witch destroys the stone. And you think Thanos is lost, but then he rewinds time. Well, so in that case, yeah, it was the good guys won, but then at the last moment, the villains rewind time and win. So this is kind of the reverse of that. So it had a really great moment. You really think for a sec, oh shit, when Steppenwolf's he's here, and you see the portal open up and Darkseid's there, and you're like, ah! But luckily, yeah, Barry goes back, runs the speed of light, and can rewind time just a few seconds. So it doesn't feel like a cheat to me. It feels like it was he had to just kind of give everything he got just to go back a few seconds, really. So, and then you see all the Justice League sort of reforming on their skeletons and stuff, and yeah, it's amazing. And then they're able to, he gets to Victor and charges him. Victor goes inside the boxes, and you see him the boxes are inside, they're sort of living things, and they try to trick him, seduce him into sort of giving in and going into some false reality with his parents there. But then he's no, I'm not. They're we can fix you, and he's I'm not broken. Just another great moment. And then, so he destroys a bed, and then at the end of it, with Superman's help, he destroys the Unity. And you get the most glorious death maybe in a superhero movie ever, or maybe just one of the best deaths in a movie ever. This is up there with like Hans Gruber's death in Die Hard. Maybe just, yeah, so badass. When Steppenwolf's like, oh, you fools, you've destroyed it, I'm gonna kill you. Then Aquaman just comes up behind him, impales him. They use this R rating so great. It doesn't ever feel gratuitous, but it's just like, it's just what the movie needs to really give it that oomph. Impales him on his trident, then throws him up in the air. Superman punches him towards the portal, and just before he's about to go into the portal towards Darkseid, and he's already basically dead, Wonder Woman, who's had sort of an ongoing beef with him the whole movie because he's been taunting her about how he killed a bunch of the Amazons, gets the final blow on him just so fittingly and slices off his head, and you don't quite see it at first, and then when he goes through the portal, his head's rolling, and then Darkseid steps on it and cracks off his other antler. Superman took off the first one, and then you just get a moment. It's like as good as anything in Infinity War or Endgame, that moment where they're just the whole league standing there through the portal. The whole Justice League just standing there looking at Darkseid like, yeah, come at us, bro. And Darkseid just staring them down right back. And then the portal closes, and oh my god, and then they're basically like, well, I told you, Desaad is like, oh, well, I told you Steppenwolf would fail, and Darkseid's like, yeah, you did. Okay, well, we know the anti-life equation's there, so we got to do it the old way. Ready the Armada. And just, you get a whole grand sweeping shot of like his planet Apocalypse and all the parademons, and it's like, oh my god, we better get a follow-up to this, guys. Come on. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Again, the epilogue just, I don't know, some people say it goes on too long, like Return of the King, but that's not something I've ever minded in Return of the King, so I love it. It fits the just epic nature of this movie. They're one of my favorite parts of the movie. We got a true sort of sequel to the nightmare sequence in Batman v Superman now, and yeah, this is really cool. So we do see into the future in Batman, again in his trench coat and stuff, and we see he's there with all like kind of the survivors of what's happened with Darkseid and Superman going evil. So it's him and the Flash and Cyborg and Mira and Deathstroke, and then of course the Joker. So we get Jared Leto as the Joker again for the second time since Suicide Squad. And I still don't think he's a great Joker or anything, but he's not bad, at least in this version. He has a bit better material to work with, and I think he's a serviceable Joker, and the fact that he's with Batfleck for the first time really interacting adds a lot more to it, I think. And Batfleck sort of elevates it all, because Ben Affleck, I don't know, he's getting close to being on par with Christian Bale for me. Christian Bale is probably still my favorite Batman, but I love them both. You get a great sort of part where they're talking about, oh, Mira's like, I've lost Arthur, because in this timeline, Aquaman and Wonder Woman are dead. So, and she's like, who have you lost, Batman? And then the Joker's like, oh, he's lost some people, some parents, and, you know, an adopted son. He hinting at Robin, who we know from BVS, it implied he killed. And Batman's like, okay, I need you right now, but mistake, I will fucking kill you. Language. I don't know if there's ever been a more satisfying moment of Batman just outright kind of like putting the Joker in his place. I mean, his hand shaking after it, it was really satisfying. And then of course, though, Superman does show up at the end. And then and he's like, he's in his evil mode, and we're like, oh, they're all like, oh shit. And then Batman wakes up, Martian Manhunter shows up, who was set up earlier, and he basically, I think he can read minds and stuff, so he kind of knows all about Batman. He's like, you're the one that did this, you got the league together, your parents will be proud. And it's just a really beautiful moment, and he sort of says like, I'm on your team when you need to fight with Darkseid. And Bruce is like, okay, great. And he pretty much flies off, and that's basically the end. That's the end of the 4-hour epic that is the Snyder Cut, and it's, yeah, what a film. What a film. And it's dedicated, of course, at the very end, it says, for Autumn. And that was, I mean, just adds a whole another layer of just weight and powerfulness to an already fantastic film. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, I mean, I've seen it 3 times now, and on the first time, I might have said like a 9 or a 9.5, but honestly, every time I watch it, I pick up on more things, and it just gets better. I've seen the Justice's Gray version. I thought there might be an extra scene or something. There's not. It's the same. But yeah, I gotta say, I think it's the best DCEU movie for sure, and it's just one of the best comic book movies ever. I think it's up there with the Dark Knight trilogy, to be honest, and I'd probably even put it just above any of the best Marvel movies, to be honest. So I'm doing it. I'm giving Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm giving it a perfect 10 out of 10. Good job, Zack. I don't know, you just really done something special here, and it's really just unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever happened in movies, and I'm so happy it turned out to be such a masterpiece. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Bye.